You may have heard about the terms overclocking and underclocking in world of computers. And to know more about them and other terms related to them like clock rate and thermal throttle, then let's get started. So to know about overclocking and underclocking, we have to first know about that what is clock rate. So the clock rate refers to the amount of cycles microprocessor perform in each second. It is typically measured in megahertz or gigahertz. 1 megahertz resembles 1 million cycles per second, while 1 gigahertz resembles 1 billion cycles per second. Before going to know about the overclocking and underclocking, we should know that hardware components that use a timer or a clock to organize and synchronize its internal operation can be overclocked or underclocked. So now coming to the question that what is overclocking and underclocking. First starting with overclocking. Overclocking means that a component's clock rate is above its manufacturer's specified default rate. In overclocking, there will be additional cycle for demanding applications to run faster. Overclocking a specific component of a computer like overclocking a CPU may only help when CPU is obstruction in performance, because performance also depends on more other factors. For instance, any high graphic game will be more hindered by graphics sector than CPU of a computer. Now, coming to the term called underclocking. So, underclocking is contrary to overclocking that we have discussed earlier. So, in this case, a computer will have a clock rate below the manufacturer's specified default rate, and computer will have to perform the fewer cycle per second in comparison to original one. Now, let's go through the advantages of overclocking and underclocking. Now, seeing the overclocking first. In overclocking, user is squeezing out every single bit out of component which maximize its performance. Now seeing underclocking. By underclocking, one can reduce the power consumption of component and thus reducing heat generation. By this, one can extend battery life of laptops, smartphones, and other mobile devices. Underclocking is done to the system that run for a long period of time and don't require maximum performance. Now focusing on disadvantages of overclocking and underclocking. Now again seeing the overclocking first. Increasing performance by overclocking also increases the power consumption, and hence it causes more heat generation which will affect lifespan of component. And to compensate this heat generation, there should be a better cooling setup. Now moving to the second point, overclocking a component may also void the warranty. And yeah, overclocking can also result in heat damage. Although newer computers reduce their clock speed or power of themselves before the damage happens, and this is called thermal throttling. So thermal throttling is a function that under controls the temperature in case of CPU overheating by lowering the speed of CPU. Now moving to underclocking. By underclocking, the performance of component will be reduced. Many computers, laptops, mobile and other devices automatically overclock and underclock the CPU itself to achieve maximum performance and longest possible battery life. CPU may be underclocked when ideal and overclocked according to the requirement of launched application. So I hope through this video you have learned about clock rate, overclocking, underclocking and thermal throttling.